all I've heard for the last 2 days is, wow, that's a lot of points for Michigan. And when you start hearing that on Monday and Tuesday, that probably isn't going to change sentiment wise as we get closer to tip off when you see more public opinions enter the fold. As somebody holding a Michigan Final Four ticket, I am looking to get out of that. And right now, I can lay Auburn minus 130 to reach the Final Four.
Welcome, everybody. Bear Bets Podcast. NCAA Tournament Sweet 16 preview is upon us. Bear joined here. For those of you who are fortunate enough to be watching us on the YouTube channel or wherever else, you're in for a treat as Geoff is making good on his wager loss to me in the Super Bowl by wearing the bear suit that he's finally wrestled away from his kids.
Yes,
they've hit it on him, so he can finally make good on it. And and Geoff and my wife colluded on getting me an Oregon hockey jersey, because now it is, Geoff, of course, the true season in Oregon athletics with softball and baseball.
it is. Yeah, forget our basketball team lost. Forget them. It's a spring football season. But guys, if you see beads of sweat coming down my face during this while we're in the bear suit, just know it's worse under the bear suit. Okay, it's very hot here, but we're gonna make this work for today. I'm paying off the bet. I did lose our wager here, so I'm gonna lose the hood in a second. But I'm wearing the bear suit. Everyone, it's toasty under here, guys. But
do us all a favor and make sure that camera is off when you take that bear suit off, because I can only imagine the humidity that's going to.
You guys have to witness it. All four of you guys have to witness this scene that's about to happen.
I logged into the call and you were putting your pants on, and I thought, this is perfect.
This thing better not be out on Signal or any unauthorized group text or anything, or else we're gonna get you talk about real national security issues right here. Me in an Oregon hockey jersey, Geoff pulling up his pants and putting on a bear suit, and Sammy covering his eyes. Will
wearing a Lakers hat.
What do you have to contribute to this?
I guess Geoff lost twice, losing the bet and then having to wear this. Tough. What was the bet exactly on the Super Bowl? Was it just the side? How was that?
It was our the number of bets that we had. We were given a fictional amount of dollars to bet on the Super Bowl, and I came out ahead, and Geoff had to pay the cons. The loser had to wear the bear suit, and Geoff lost, but
it's toasty.
I'm gonna, and now this is all the more reason to drag this out even more. We're gonna make Geoff really, really suffer, but we're gonna really make him suffer Thursday night. The one of the two late games. So I guess we'll just start with watching the Arizona Wildcats, a 9.5 point underdog against Duke, total around 153.5. I don't know. Like, Arizona is just, they're so talented, but they're so frustrating to watch. They do some idiotic things at times. And I will have a little bit of a mea culpa here. Like, I've been kind of hard on Tommy Lloyd, but the way they closed that game out in the final 20, 30 seconds against Oregon with the substitution patterns, fouling up three a couple of times when the lead was like, they played the game perfectly. But Sammy, do they have a more than a puncher's chance here against Duke, or is this just a formality?
I don't think so. Obviously, I'm biased, holding a bunch of Duke stuff. Shout out to the guy who said that the Duke bet was over. They weren't going to make it through the first weekend. We got 2 more to go to get to the Final Four, and then 4 more to win. These big numbers, guys, in this round, specifically the round of 16, are usually big for a reason. And I know what people are thinking. They're going to look at 2 teams, Arizona and Michigan, and go, wow, those are big numbers. And yet the market is still floating up. I just watched Pinnacle as we tape this on Tuesday morning. Pinnacle out to 10 on Duke. Well, you thought 9 was big on Monday. Now it's 10. And you're going to see that Auburn number get pushed up. I see 9.5. It opened 8. So wise guys early in the week betting against Arizona and betting against Michigan.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of this has to do with the fact that, I mean, let's face it, Geoff, you said it well in our group text. The madness just hasn't been there. These favorites continue to win, and these money line parlays with the favorites continue to get home. So if you're the books, you got to start charging a tax and jacking these up a little and make you think twice. On these money lines, these big favorites. The question for Duke, if you have any concern, is it's so easy for them. They play in the lousy ACC. They kill Baylor, they destroy Mount St. Mary's. If they're in a tight game, are they battle tested? I mean, that's a good problem to have, but it is still a concern. Arizona, like you mentioned, Bear, they have a lot of talent. So could you see a scenario where this is, a 4 or 5 point game with 5-6 minutes to go? I could, but I don't see any reason to step in front of this Duke train right now. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't either. I have no play in this game. I will maybe hop in at some point live. Maybe it's just Joey, maybe Arizona. Maybe they start off hot. Maybe they get up a few points, and maybe you're able to get Duke maybe at a little bit of a discount. But yeah, pre-game, Geoff, I don't really. Yeah. I don't, maybe it's an over game because again, the line is kind of in that foul zone area, or maybe the teams are fouling extensively at the end of games. So I don't know. If I had to play one thing, I mean, but again, the totals move 4 points since the open. So I'll probably just sit here on my hands and wait until the game gets underway and see what happens.
I think that the case for Arizona covering this would just be they have a lights out shooting game, which they can have, right? And this game ends up being, 90 to 82, like it's certainly possible, right? That's how Arizona covers this game. Because Arizona can score. We know that. And that's the maddening part about the team is they go through stretches Bear mentioned where they're good and bad. Look how they start against Oregon, right? They're down 19-4. If that happens against Duke, I promise you're not leading at halftime like they were against Oregon. So I think that's the thing that scares you about Arizona. Look, Duke is not UConn from last season or the year before, but they certainly win games like them where by the end of the game, you're like, well, that's a 20-point win. It looks fairly easy. They've done it all season long. So it hasn't been something that they're brand new to doing the last couple of weeks. And I really think we talked about this last week, them winning the AC tournament without Cooper Flag gave the entire team so much confidence, man. It really gave this group a lot, and they're playing some good basketball. So I would not bet Arizona here. I mean, maybe there's some Arizona buyback and you get a better Duke number toward tip-off, but I think the best way to look at this, Bear, is what you said, right? Is hopefully this game is close through 10 minutes and you get a better Duke number.
First meeting, obviously, McHale early in the year. Duke is 69-55 winner. Arizona, 6 of 23 from three-point range, and Caleb Love, 1 of 9. So you would obviously expect Arizona to shoot a little bit better. But yeah, that it's funny. I was sitting here thinking you just said maybe you get a 90-82 type of game, and that wouldn't even go over right now with the total that it is. So again, all these games, you don't have to bet on all of them. The other game in that regional, Alabama, a 5-point favorite over BYU, 175.5. And again, this is another game that I think a lot of people are expecting to be a higher scoring game. I was on the wrong side against Bama in the second round with St. Mary's. The Gales.
Bear, that was so
no more.
I think Will said it. You just can't wager on a slow tempo team against a team like Alabama. Like St. Mary's took 29 seconds, 28 seconds to shoot a bad shot, got no offensive rebounds, and then Bama would score 9 seconds later. And it's like that. You just can't do it against a team like Bama. So I was with you there as well. And it was a brutal watch, Will.
No more St. Mary's. So I'm marking this down for next year. Enough. Not the year after. I don't care what their Ken Palm numbers are. I don't care their efficiency. They can do whatever they want. It's just I'm not doing it again with that team.
This was the first time I ever bought into that bullshit with Sam. I've always been like anti St. Mary's, and I was like, maybe no, this team might be different than I rebound. No.
Sammy's smirking because he warned us. He's right. Give him credit. He was right.
Well, I'm actually smirking because last year I put him in the Final Four, and I thought never again. The problem with them is that if they don't get ahead, they're like the Steelers. They have to get ahead. They have to score first, and then they sit on you. If they fall behind 14-0, though, they have no chance. Even with Aaron Rodgers, no chance to come back from.
Whoa, you breaking news? Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers is done?
No. I mean, wouldn't they have already? News. They would have already done it, wouldn't you? I mean, anyways. Look, let's talk about this total because you're going to hear over talk all week between BYU and Bama, and I understand it. It opened in Vegas at 171.5. It is currently 175.5. And guys, I think by tip off on Thursday night, it's going to be about 176.5, 177. So this is a total. If you're betting the over, bet it yesterday. If you're betting the under, wait it out. This number is only going to go up.
By the way, I realized I screwed up my totals up, by the way. The Arizona Duke total was 153.5. This was the game that I was looking at the total. That's 175.5. So forgive me.
I like the over, and I think I was texting you guys either in the group chat or I tweeted it, or maybe both, that, man, this total BYU Bama is going to be 180, and I was kind of exaggerating, but not exaggerating by much. I know, like, some books open this 168.5, which is the wrong number, and we're up to 174.5, 175. I like the over. If you look at these Bama games with high totals, they're usually good for it. I'll just go through some of the scores here. When they have a high total, they played Florida 3 times. Total was in this range. Final scores in that game, total points 193, 186, 202. Against Missouri, the final was 110-98. Against Kentucky, so that's 208 points. Against Kentucky, 179. The 2 games against Auburn, 179 and 184, and against Texas, 183. They're good for it. They're going to shoot 1,000,000 threes. BYU shoots 1,000,000 threes. The pace is going to be there. Obviously, you have the concern of, all right, it's a big game. Are they going to get tight? Are they going to slow things down a little bit? I don't think so. I think this one's going over.
And basketball is one of the rare basketball center Sweet 16. It's the Prudential Center, so it's actually not one of these big, massive domes that some people don't like games in the big, massive dome. BYU hits the free throws as well. Sears hits the free. So again, a lot of fouls would also result in a lot of points. But yeah, I wish I had I'm looking for every reason in the world to bet BYU here. Yeah. I don't know if I've gotten there yet. Maybe if this thing, I don't think it'll hit 6. I think that I wouldn't think so, but slight lean to me for BYU plus the if you get 5.5 would be the way I would go here. But I certainly see your case with the over as well. Will moving on to the next region, the West. The first game on Thursday will be 2 teams that kind of are very fortunate to be here. The number 1 seed beat UConn in the second round by 2. The number 4 seed Maryland beat Colorado State on the buzzer beater by a point. So I tweeted out the note earlier. It's the first time you've had a 1 versus 4 Sweet 16 game with both teams coming off a win by 2 points or fewer since the 82 North Carolina Alabama Sweet 16 game. Tar Heels obviously went on to win that game and the national championship. Florida up to 7, total of 158. This is a game I'm kind of waiting on because I get the sense that there are a lot of people out there that are looking to bet, that want to bet Florida. It was a one-off against UConn. UConn uglied the game up, but UConn had a lot of opportunities, wide open shots that they missed. And this is a Maryland team that can shoot the 3. I'm going to wait this one out as long as I can. Like maybe if I get a 7.5, I'll jump in then. But I'm gonna be on Maryland plus the points here. I think the Terps, they're not deep, but with that, the longer timeouts come tournament time with TB timeouts, all the reviews, extra timeouts, I like Maryland here plus the points, and I'll probably take a little bit of a stab on the money line as well. I think Maryland, the way they played against Colorado State and kind of getting the game plan Nika Medved drew up, and the way CSU played, I don't think you're going to get that here from Florida. So give me the Terps plus the 7 and a little nibble on the money line as well.
I'm not sure how much higher it goes. You know, it opened 5 at the Superbook, so this is probably a good time to strike. People always want to know, well, when should I bet? It depends on the game. I don't think this goes 7.5, 8, because I assure you, wink, wink, there will be people that will come in. And it's not even me. I know a guy who says, if it gets to 7.5, I'm going to crack Maryland. So take that for what you will. I mean, you save a couple books right now. You can lay 6.5 Bear, DraftKings, FanDuel, 6.5. So I would lay that now if you're on Florida. I would wait if you're on Maryland. But let's also, guys, let's talk about this SEC steam. Alabama goes up 1.5 points, 3.5 to 5. Florida goes 5 to 7. Auburn 8 up to 9, 9.5. And Ole Miss from +4 to +3 at a couple shops. You're seeing SEC steam early in the week from the Sharps.
If you like Maryland, I'd suggest maybe part of your bet in the first half, because the one concern for me, and you hit on it, Bear, the depth. Florida's got depth. Florida's got a bunch of guys that they can throw at you, a bunch of bodies, and Maryland doesn't. So do they wear out? Do they wear down in the second half? It does feel like this is inflated. It does feel like also that maybe Florida got a scare, man. You mentioned it with UConn. They had their chances. They were up 6 a couple times. They missed a kind of a point blank layup to put it to 8. Felt like if they could have gotten that to 8-10, they would have actually pulled it off. And man, what a win that would have been for UConn early in the role of the underdog. That to me has been the game of the tournament so far, which is not saying much because this has not been the most exciting tournament to watch. So it's getting inflated. I just worry from a matchup standpoint. Can Maryland hang for 40 minutes with their lack of depth? Florida is still a really, really good team. So this is one where I'm probably going to pass.
Is there a way to handicap how many reviews we will have that'll ruin the game flow? Because you mentioned it, Bear. Like obviously the reviews and the timeouts allow Maryland, who plays 6.5 guys, a chance to rest. And why even save timeouts? You're going to get 4 reviews in the last 2 minutes of everything's going to be reviewed. They have Gene come on. And he tells us the result in 13 seconds. Yep. And then it takes them 2.5 more minutes after that. And then what I love too is they only have 2 officials review it, and then all 3 meet for another minute to talk about their ruling, and then they go to each side to tell them, and then tell us on TV, and then tell the players, and then we start playing basketball again. So why even save timeout, Sammy? Like there's no point doing any of this. Like just take it. It's I can't stand it. I think college basketball can be tough to watch sometimes when teams are not making their shots, and then add on to the fact that we have all these reviews at the end of games, which really. The only reason that college basketball can be fun at times is the last 5 minutes, because teams do some wacky stuff at the end. And part of that is if the game keeps going, the wacky stuff keeps happening. Whenever you stop the game, it sort of stops the momentum of the crazy, weird things that happen. And so I just think it does a disservice to the sport to have so many reviews. Like we see it, make the call, and move it along.
Combine that with me on the plane back from Vegas, crying baby 2 rows ahead, and then the service on the TV going in and out. And every time it would come back, I'd be like, oh, we're delayed. Nope, just still reviewing the call. And I thought Will had the line of the weekend in the group thread when he said, the star of one shining moment's the monitor. Perfect.
And nothing like going to the monitor in a 15-point game with 2 minutes to go. That's St. Mary's, Alabama. Like, what? Really? Come on, game's over. Stop. But okay, so anybody else looking to get in here on anything on Maryland?
I mean, if you think Florida's as good as advertised, I do think that by the end of this game, they had their scare last week. They end up covering this game. If you think they're that good, then I think that the play is to take Florida now. And by the end of this game, we look up and. It might be a defensive struggle early because we know Maryland can play good defense, but this ends up being a 12-point game by the end because Florida's depth and their ability to score comes through over 40 minutes. If you think they're that team, this game to me feels a 10 to 12-point win for Florida. If you don't, then obviously don't bet on Florida. Then last week was sort of an example of how Florida can be good. I will say, UConn's physicality, I think, if you watch that game, I think Florida was surprised. They were up contesting pretty early in the possession. They felt like they forced them off of what they want to do offensively. If Maryland can do that over 40 minutes, it's going to be a close game.
Late game, Thursday night, Arkansas, Texas Tech, 2 old Southwest Conference foes. Arkansas, the lowest remaining seed here, facing a Texas Tech team that kind of beat you multiple ways. First game of the tournament, hit basically every 3 imaginable, just like kind of they did in the Big 12 tournament. And then against Drake in the second round, didn't necessarily have a great game from the perimeter and found a way to dominate the interior, with Toppin being a massive matchup problem. This line really hasn't moved from what I've seen. Open 5.5, still hanging 5.5, 147.5. I like Texas Tech here. I just think this is a team that is still a little undervalued. And I think there's a little, like Sammy was just talking about, like an SEC tax. I think people are on Calipari now. He's going to get to the Elite Eight of the Final Four with a double-digit seed. Look at the way they started the year, and now they're right here. Maybe they get some players back, but Tech might get McMillan back as well. And I think if you look at Arkansas, and they won their 2 games, absolutely, but you beat a Kansas team that had the game under control until Adams got hurt, unfortunately. And then Kansas absolutely collapsed in the final few minutes of that game. And then you beat a 2 seed in St. John's, who I think we all kind of knew was a little bit overvalued. They couldn't shoot from the outside. That was more, I think, about bad St. John's than it was Arkansas being great. That was a horrific game to watch because nobody could shoot. Arkansas is taking a big step up in class here, even though the spread would not seem to indicate it. I love Texas Tech here. I laid the 5.5. This is the one game I did jump in on right away, even though I'm not so sure this thing maybe doesn't go to 5. Sammy, what do you think we're going to get this thing down to 5? You think some Arkansas money will come in?
Well, it depends on McMillan. This feels like a 90% in number that he's going to go likely. And I think once he officially gets cleared, which I don't believe has happened yet, it's going to tick. So it goes to 6 or 6.5. I just look at Arkansas with a coach that refuses to call timeouts against a team that can finally score and go on runs. You know, Kansas didn't really go on any big runs, especially in the second half. And then, you know, St. John's just couldn't shoot at all, which we've discussed on this program. Hell of a season, but can't shoot. Texas Tech can score. Number 5 in the country at putting the ball in the basket. So you combine that, their ability to fill it with the ability to go on runs on top of Cal's like, we'll figure it out at the next TV timeout. I mean, I had Arkansas first half and they were up the whole first half, 8-10 points. And then all of a sudden St. John's goes on that run and I'm in the pool yelling, timeout, like screaming timeout. And Cal's just like, nope, we're good. We're going to let this happen here. That makes me nervous for Arkansas in this game. And as we know, Will, this is usually the round where the trendy dogs get put down, unfortunately. And that's what you have here. You have a trendy Arkansas dog. Oh, don't let Cal get hot. Don't let him make a run. Bad feeling about the Razorbacks here.
Well, I liked Arkansas until you guys started blabbing away about why I have a stupid opinion on this game. And honestly, it's a convincing case to maybe not be as confident in Arkansas. I just think, and we'll see if they get Thero back, who's an NBA guy. They got Boogie Flam back, who's a first-round pick, most likely. I just think they have athletes. They've got size. You're not going to just push them around. Toppin, Drake had no answer for Toppin. That was a situation where that was just men against boys. That's not going to be the situation in that game. And again, maybe I'm buying into the narrative too much, but this is sort of a house money feel here for Arkansas, for Calipari, who, ironically, who underachieved for years with all of these lottery picks and losing the first round, lost to Oakland last year, and time and time again failed to reach the Sweet 16 his last 3 or 4 years at Kentucky. Wouldn't it be kind of ironic with this dead team was 0-5 or 0-6 in SEC play? SEC. Yeah, they somehow make the tournament and they end up in an Elite 8 or a Final Four would just be crazy. I don't think they win the game, but I think it'll be a close game, so I will take the 5.5.
Let me jump in here quickly, Will. Good news for you. According to my screen, Tiero upgraded to play just now.
Go.
So there you go.
Arkansas makes 32% of their threes. I just think against Texas Tech, that's not a place you want to be, right? If you get behind it all in this game, they're just not coming back. And that concerns me. You basically have to play one style of game where you're staying even with them for most of the game. And Arkansas is not great defensively, and Tech can put the ball in the basket, as Sammy says. That does concern me here if you're backing Arkansas. Also, Arkansas likes to thrive on forcing turnovers. Tech doesn't really turn the ball over. So those things for me lean toward Texas Tech play here and tailing Bear, because Sammy mentioned it, right? These Cinderella stories. I don't know if you consider Cinderella to be a 10-seed Arkansas from a major conference, but they tend to sort of end this weekend as the big dogs are barking a little bit more as we get in the Sweet 16 Elite 8.
It is wild too, Bear, how Kentucky loses to Oakland in the first round last year. They part ways with Cal, and then Kentucky and Arkansas both make the Sweet 16 the next year. Maybe a
and
good
BYU
breakup.
with Mark
and
Hope.
BYU, all three made out well. Well, yeah,
crazy.
And kind of like the a little like love triangle going on there. Geoff, how's the body temperature doing?
Every segment we do, I just keep lowering the zipper here in the front. So by the end of this, you're going to see a lot of chest hairs. It's 5 games now. I think we've gone through. Everyone It just gets a little bit lower and lower by the end of this show. So if you're sticking around and you like a little bit of chest hair, this is the show for you.
Gonna be the Michigan locker room soon.
Those longtime fans of the Bear Bet podcast will understand that inside joke.
I got to pay a penance here on my Michigan take in a few minutes. I feel like.
Speaking of Michigan, they play the late game on Friday in Atlanta against the top seeded Auburn Tigers. This one, looking at 8.5, 153.5. I will probably be looking at the Auburn team total over in this game. I don't think Wolf defends a lick. I think Golden is a liability as well. He can get in foul trouble. I think Auburn is going to put up a lot of points in this game. Now, maybe Michigan hits some threes and they score as well. But Michigan, the luck box continues with that three ball from Taylor that was halfway down and somehow it didn't go down. Like the game in the first round against UCSD, like everything just continues to go Michigan's way. And people are still down on Auburn, but I think of all of the potential plays here for me, it's an Auburn team total over. I got to find exactly what that number is. I'd expect to be around maybe 70, 79.5, maybe 80, somewhere around there, probably. I'd go over that. But Sammy, you mentioned it with the way the play is coming on this game, Auburn, Michigan. It feels like Michigan is going to be one of those very attractive public type dogs. And truth being told, whether those teams have been covering so far.
All I've heard for the last 2 days is, wow, that's a lot of points for Michigan. And when you start hearing that on Monday and Tuesday, that probably isn't going to change sentiment-wise as we get closer to tip-off, when you see more public opinions enter the fold. As somebody holding a Michigan Final Four ticket, I am looking to get out of that. And right now I can lay Auburn minus 130 to reach the Final Four. If they beat Michigan and beat them big, which I think is inevitable, unfortunately, I like Ole Miss in the next game. So Auburn's going to be a lot greater than 2-1 in the Elite Eight, I would think. Minus 130, probably not a bad bet. Auburn Final Four right now.
81.5, the team total for Auburn Bears.
Okay, so. I'll go over that.
Yeah. This is the wrong team. If you're Michigan, the turnovers, you can't turn it over against them because it's just there's going to be too much in transition the other way. They've done a decent job. They've seemed like they've cleaned it up a little bit with Wolf, who can be daring with some of his passes, but some of these cross-court passes that get picked off, it's like a pick six in football. It's just it's such a damaging play. It feels like you're paying a tax on Auburn. They haven't been in great form recently. They lost 3 out of 4 going into the tournament, and then they weren't great against Alabama State. And then Creighton was up in the first half. A lot of that was 3-point shooting. So I could see a scenario where Auburn pulls away here. It does feel like you just it feels expensive on Auburn. I don't know that you're getting a great number here, laying 9.5.
I will say though, we've talked so much about. I'm sure we will talk about it coming up, and throughout the week we've talked about Houston being at a geographical disadvantage in their region. I mean, Auburn is what, an hour and a half drive from Atlanta. Like, I would expect this to be a big home court advantage for at least Auburn in this game. I know Michigan's got a ton of alums and they everywhere, but I would expect this building to be quite full of Auburn Tiger fans.
Does that matter in these games, you think?
I don't know. Does it?
I don't think so. I mean, we'll find out with Houston, obviously, because they basically play 2 road games in a row if they win both of these. Where they're at. I'm gonna just fade Michigan to go down with the ship as much as I can now. I
Big
can't,
Ten hater Geoff Schwartz.
Big Ten hater. I mean, what we got 3 teams in the I have that right? 3 teams in the Sweet 16. No, look, I just keep wondering how Michigan keeps doing it, and they
4, Jeff.
4
short changing them again.
We have 4. Well, look, I'm a Big Ten historian now. Okay, I've been in the conference 1 whole year. I got everything down. I'm gonna go down with the ship again. I like Auburn here. I don't think Michigan can keep getting away with this. I don't think they're that good, even though obviously they keep proving me wrong each and every game. But I'm gonna go down with the ship there.
Well, this is a nightmare. It's a nightmare matchup for them. I mean, the speed alone could be enough, and if they're not making their shots, layups and dunks and threes. I mean, if Michigan has a poor shooting night, they're going to get run out of the gym. And it's a horrible matchup for them.
And we'll see the health of Chad Baker-Mazara, who is capable of doing anything on the court. He took that hard that hard fall, but Bruce Pearl was kind of joking about it after the game about it. He's bony, and it's kind of bone on bone in the way he landed. And but I think they think he's going to be okay. So I'll look at an Auburn team total over, and depending on how that game is going to go early on, maybe get an opportunity to hop in on Auburn Live. The first game, Mississippi, Michigan State, Ole Miss. If you want to just say Ole Miss, Michigan State. The Spartans, 3.5 at Circa, I see, and 3.5 kind of everywhere else. That number kind of moved a little bit today. Over Ole Miss, 144 is the total. Sammy, you kind of hinted at it before. I'm with you. I like Ole Miss in this game. I think you're looking at a short 2-seed favorite in this game. I have a 35-1 ticket on Ole Miss to make the Final Four. So if I can get one more win out of them, I'll be in a good position to earn off of that. And we gave it Ole Miss as kind of that mid-priced Final Four sleeper last week. So hopefully people are in that similar position as well. I think this is a team that can defend. I love Chris Beard with time to prepare. You look, and I mentioned like the short favorites here for a 2-seed. Like you got Chris Beard, who pulled an upset of a 2-seed in the Sweet 16 with Texas Tech a couple times. So he's familiar in this division. Didn't beat Izzo in the Final Four down in that was San Antonio, right, when they lost to Virginia in the national title game. Like, I think this is a very dangerous team. They got guys who can shoot. They got matchup problems as well. And I think we saw Michigan State kind of escape against New Mexico in a game where they got a very friendly whistle. They did hit some big shots, but I'm not sure Michigan State is the better team here. I like Ole Miss plus the points, and I would take Ole Miss on the money line as well.
Line opened 4 and got bet down to 3, even 2.5. We saw it get shoved back today. That'll be a fun fight all week long. Yep. I'm on the dog. And if you like the dog, you probably like the first half. If you've watched any Michigan State this year, just a rock fight in the first half. And then they keep finding ways. I mean, Bryant was down 8 points with 12 minutes to go. And you turn the game off and you come back 8 minutes later. Oh, Sparty's up 22. You're like, oh, that was fun. And then I had New Mexico +7. They're in control. And then Sparty gets 2 3-point plays via the foul at the end of that game. They're playing with fire. Ole Miss has the potential to actually extend leads, unlike the last 2 opponents. And Ole Miss a much better team, obviously, than Bryant and than New Mexico. So I'm on the dog. I took 3.5, and I'm looking first half as well.
That third foul call on Ellie Jr. Joseph was just so bad. I actually thought they were going to call a foul on the Michigan State player for getting in contact with the New Mexico player who was going to take off on a fast break and a layup.
You
I
thought
that
wrong.
might have been the way the foul was going.
You thought wrong.
Brutal.
Yeah, I definitely thought wrong.
And then they come down. They shoot the 3. New Mexico's down 8. They shoot the 3, break the 3.
Give up.
And with 15 seconds, they don't foul.
Yeah.
And
it was even more than that. It was a good 25. It was closer to 30. I was surprised too, because they were kind of lurking around and kind of giving the hint that they would. Then you kind of got the sense, man, if they didn't do it now, they just they gave up. Yeah, look, it's to me the interesting thing is the 3-pointer, because Ole Miss has shot the 3 incredibly well in this tournament, and nobody can make a 3 against Michigan State all year. Is that variance? Is that luck? Is some of that Michigan State just has these big, long, athletic defenders? I think it's probably a little bit of both. Yep. But I would, I think it's an evenly matched game. I would agree with you guys in taking the points.
The Michigan State 3-point defense is interesting. Now, obviously, I've only watched a couple of their games like completely through. One of them was Oregon in the Big Ten tournament. Oregon just missed open 3-pointers.
That's what I was going to follow up with, Jeff. Is it just teams missing open shots?
I don't know. Now you can make the argument that they're tired from having to play Michigan State, right? Like the physicality and just the long shot clock and just taking time to get open and find guys open. And by the time you shoot your 3, you're tired, right? Or trying to defend, that's the wear and tear, right? The body blows thing we talk about in football. I watched Oregon miss like 12 open 3s though. Is that Michigan State's great 3-point defense, guys? Or is that just a team not making the shots when they have to do that. And the regression could be pretty strong here. But I think don't all of us, 4 of us, have to pick Michigan State though for like the posterity of the podcast? Like, is that we have to do that, or we can go against? We I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble.
No. We did a solid for getting John Smoltz on the baseball podcast. So
okay, so we can pick.
We're good with there. All the equity
okay.
That we built up with that. We're
so
good.
we go Ole Miss. That's
an inside joke. We're kind of poking fun at one of our
Michigan State obviously wins. Just Ole Miss is going to cover. That's the
exactly.
Okay.
Ole Miss with a late 3 to cover the 3.5.
72-70 Michigan State final. Michigan State wins. Ole Miss covers, and then we move on.
Okay,
we're all happy.
Yeah. So
the final region, the Midwest, we talked about top seed Houston, 7.5, 8. I see it. Well, I don't see 7. I see 7.5. I see an 8. Total 131.5. That is the late game on. That's Friday, correct? Yeah, that's Friday night. I like Houston here. I think that I don't think that the bigs of Purdue are going to have as easy of a time as they did against McNeese State in that second round game. They have not really shot the ball super well. They a little bit better in the second round, but I think they're going to have a ton of problems with the Houston defense and those guards and the pressure that they can bring on. Yeah, we talked about the home crowd advantage, and does it really mean anything? I think this is a situation. I think the way Kelvin Sampson coaches his team so hard, I can see, and as a player, like, does it ultimately matter? Like the us against the world mentality that kind of think people think that Houston is the most vulnerable of the 1 seeds. I think the fact that they're going to have to play Purdue and then maybe Kentucky, maybe Tennessee, and kind of what would be another maybe road game to get back to the Final Four, what would be in their home state, is interesting. But I think the difference between this Houston team and other ones, they can score. I mean, how many big shots did Cryer hit the other night? Sharp can shoot. Roberts on the interior with that little jump one-hander. Like, I love this Houston team, and I know they had a little bit of a meltdown at the end of that game the other night against Gonzaga, but they did move on. I'm going to wait on Houston. I'm going to see if this thing can get to 7.5 across. If I can find a 7.5, maybe I'll play it. Maybe we get a 7, Sammy, kind of. But I like Houston here.
Well, Purdue's had a really tough path, Bear, to get here, beating High Point and McNeese. I mean, that's a tough road. This is a huge step up.
I feel like Geoff talking bad against the Big Ten.
Yeah. Well, the Big Ten's going to have some medicine, I think, this week. They're going to have some things go against them. They had a lot of really easy matchups. Maryland, Michigan, Purdue, Michigan State could all lose this week. So Geoff, at the end of the day, could be right. I don't think there's a Final Four team in the Big Ten. That's not really a hot take either. I mean, 3 of those teams are pretty sizable dogs. But because I love past posting on this program, Bear, I bet under. And I went under 133. Now, you can still get 132.5, but there's a couple 131.5s in Vegas. And as we know, guys, these Houston totals, they run. And this game is not until Friday. So you may want to get that under early and get that 132.5.
This is one of those games where the oddity of the basketball court setup in Lucas Oil Stadium, they're playing in a football stadium, but not in the middle, like we've seen in the Final Four. They're playing off on one side. So like the court is on one end zone essentially. And so it's like the old Alamo Dome setup where they kind of split it in half, right? And put like one half of the field. So it's just an awkward shooting venue, right? Like you're shooting into the football stands, but it's just a weird setup. Now, obviously it's just more of a Purdue home game, and maybe that fires up Houston here. But I think, to Sammy's point about low scoring, is Purdue going to be able to score against Houston? I think Houston can score and find ways to score against Purdue, but can Purdue score enough against Houston in this weird, awkward stadium setup? I think Houston is better suited for this. And you're right. Look, they played High Point. We talked about this in our text chat. Purdue was my favorite wager of the round of 32. I mean, they were going to blow up McNeese State, and they did, but they haven't played anybody. And so I don't think they match up well against Houston here. I would lean Houston or nothing.
Yeah, there's a saying, if you're not there for the wedding, don't be there for the funeral. And I have not been high on this Purdue team, so I'm afraid of jumping on them here. But I just think it's again, I say this with a lot of these lines. It feels like it's a touch high with the number. It is, like you said, a relative home game here for Purdue. And the one real deficiency for Purdue is defense and specifically defending the rim. And Houston is not going to really expose that. Like you said, Bear, it's more of a shooting team than they've been in past years. So I could just see a scenario where Houston wins by 5, 6, 7, something like that. So I will take the Purdue here plus the 8.5.
Yeah, I would actually, if I wouldn't love it because that would mean I would lose my laying the 7.5 for the 8 here. But I think if Houston does struggle, you're probably going to get a better number on Houston come Sunday in the Elite Eight versus the winner of that Kentucky-Tennessee game. The old adage in sports, can't beat it. Oh, it's so hard to beat a team 3 times. And that's what we got going on here. Kentucky, every time it seemed like Illinois was making a run the other day, hit a big shot to kind of run that thing back out. Tennessee score was nowhere near indicative of the blowout, the big win that was over UCLA. I thought UCLA had a chance to hang around there. That was not the case. But a couple SEC teams here, Tennessee, Kentucky. I don't have a play here. This one's down to 4, it looks like, in most places, Sammy. So it does feel like a lot of money's coming on Big Blue.
Yeah, I understand it. I'm also not going to get involved. If anything, I might actually lay a cheap Tennessee money line. If you want to give me 3 and let me lay about $1.70, cool. I'll do that. I have no issue laying chalk. Kentucky forced 14 turnovers against Illinois, and Kentucky doesn't force turnovers at all. So I would imagine that's going to regress a little bit closer to the middle or past the middle. I am not betting Kentucky. Look, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I do not like a lot of dogs here. I gave you Mississippi or Ole Miss, but I just don't like the dogs historically in this round. And I will lay a cheap 3 on the money line with Tennessee.
I think you and I are kind of thinking the same thing here. That's why I really haven't jumped in on a lot of games so far, because I think the sides I want to bet, I can get a better number tomorrow on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, because I think a lot of people are going to bet dogs. And if anything, I'm going to get a better number come closer to game time.
The only thing that makes me nervous, Will, is that I do have to lay that chalk with Rick Barnes. Eventually that will crash. It always does, but I don't like the number for Kentucky.
Tennessee 3 of 18, by the way, in the that game at Ruff from outside the arc. Kentucky 12 of 24. We always kind of say, like, if there's one stat, Will, that kind of dictate the winner of the game, look at 3-point shooting percentage. Tennessee 11 of 45 in the game in Knoxville as well. I remember that game as well. So Tennessee has not shot the ball well from the perimeter in both of those games. So we'll see, Will, if the shooting regression goes maybe the other way here.
I'm pretty sure Kentucky shot 12 of 24 in the second matchup, 2 from 3. So if there's one thing we know, Kentucky's going to shoot 12 of 24 from 3 in this game as well. You just pretty much lock it in. You mentioned it. It's very, you always hear, it's hard to beat a team 3 times, and that's usually not true. That the data proves otherwise. Very unusual. I'm sure it's happened, but very unusual. I can't think of a scenario where the team going for the 3rd straight win has been a dog in all 3 games, and they were a 10.5-point dog, a 4-point dog, and now a 4.5-point dog. Kentucky's game plan is going to be pretty clear. It's just going to, hey, pack the paint, dare them to shoot outside. If they make them, they make them. Tip your hat. But we don't trust Tennessee to make shots. I kind of like that game plan. I just think Kentucky shoots it better than Tennessee. Anytime I can fade Barnes in a tournament and get points, I'll do it. I'll take the 4.5 here with Kentucky.
Bear, how about a Tennessee Houston money line parlay, even money?
That sounds pretty appealing. That sounds like a very wise bet. I think I might have to put that one in the account. So how many, which 1 seed, if one does not get to the Final Four? I always have the historical numbers around it about how odds are you're going to get 2 1 seeds, 1 seed. 3 has happened a couple times. All 4 has happened only once. If I come to you from Sunday night how many 1 seeds are we looking at getting to the Final Four, Geoff?
I feel pretty good about Duke and Auburn getting there based off their matchups. I could see Florida losing to Texas Tech. That feels very likely, right? That could happen. And then obviously, if one of Kentucky or Tennessee just sort of shoots lights out against Houston, Houston's out, right? I think that's not a foregone conclusion. So that I feel like Duke's in. To me, I think Duke right now is playing so well. They're going to beat Bama or BYU, and Auburn, if they get through Michigan, which we all think, I think they probably beat Ole Miss or Michigan State. So I think 2 for sure. Would be surprised. I'd be surprised. I think if Florida beat Texas Tech, that would at this point right now. And then of course, as I mentioned, Houston, that's a toss up for me.
I'll say 3. I wouldn't be shocked if we got 4 though. It's just that kind of year with the chalk, and these teams are cut above the rest. But I think Texas Tech could break through. But I'll go 3. I think 3 is a good number.
I spaced out. I was looking at Jeff's chest. What are we talking about?
How many 1 seeds do you think
zipper's all the way down?
I actually did hear the question, but I'm hearing Jeff's chest as well. I mean, that thing is down there, buddy. That's a deep V if I've ever seen one. Good Lord. Luckily, that microphone is there covering up a little bit.
Do you guys have the number for HR, by the way?
You guys made me wear the bear suit. And we have to talk about the person who bought me, our producer, Soli, who's a Tennessee fan. So I figured I'd distract from the discussion about his favorite team by making sure that my zipper was down as much as possible.
What a visual this is.
Just take a shoulder down. Just take a shoulder down. We'll be all good.
I don't know if I can.
I mean, you probably shouldn't. I think you can.
Yeah.
I don't think
if you can. Yeah, if you can, don't.
Because if you take one off, the other one's falling off.
Oh, yeah.
Let me answer the question. I think it's 3. I was wrong about Houston. I called that the bracket of chaos, and we probably get Houston, Tennessee. Nice call, nerd. But I think Florida slips up in the next 2 rounds.
Yeah, I think we're ultimately going to get 2 as well, and I feel really confident about Houston getting through. I think they beat Purdue, and I think they win on Sunday. What was that?
You put them in the championship. Of course, you feel comfortable they're going to go through.
I did. One of my cats has just walked into the room, so I need to figure out who currently has more fur. The Axel the cat has walked in my room, or Geoff.
Jeff, for sure. Jeff minus $4.
Yeah, exactly. Can't call him Jersey Jeff anymore. But all right. On that note, good yucks. Appreciate you. We'll be back again next week. We'll kick around the Final Four preview and whatever else happens to come to mind.
All right, back from the group chat. And Bear, I think I still owe people an apology for my Big Ten take, because that was bad a couple weeks ago. I'm wrong. I apologize for it. I might still fade Michigan though. That might not change, but it's crazy. We got those 4 major conferences. That's it. That's still left around. So we'll see obviously how this plays out, and we'll go to our best bets now for the weekend of the Sweet 16 Elite 8. Bear, you go first.
Yeah, my best bet. I like Texas Tech laying the 5.5 against Arkansas, and I realize Arkansas is the Cinderella, I guess you could say, as a double-digit seed here. But look, this is a situation where Kansas kind of gave him the game. The Adams injury was a killer in that game. So Arkansas survived beating Kansas after blowing a lead, and Kansas appeared to have the game under control and then wound up losing. Then you drew St. John's in the second round, who couldn't throw one in the ocean. That was more about, I think, bad St. John's than it was great Arkansas. Here you're running up against a Texas Tech team that can shoot, that is deep, that can defend. Yeah, I don't like this matchup at all. I think Arkansas is going to be a very public side here, is one of those, Cal's going to get to the Cal's in the Sweet 16 now after underachieving, and imagine he was 0-5. Yeah, I love this Texas Tech team. I think they go out and win very easily on Friday night.
Bear, Cinderellas tend to have trouble in the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8, right? Like, this is, in the first weekend, you have the back-to-back games. Obviously, you have a day in between, but you can just sort of fire off a couple wins, right? Now you have 4 to 5 days to think about this, and then you're playing against better teams. You talked about Tech going back to last week and how good they are. And look, I wrote it with you when you texted him a group chat about them in round 2, the round 32, I should say. They've been a good wager. They're a good team. So I agree with you here. Only 5.
By the way, I want to apologize. Game's Thursday. Tech and Arkansas is Thursday. I had my day. I'm so excited. I had my day screwed up.
Is this one of those in the football stadium, like in the corner of the stadium, or is one in an actual basketball arena? Because that makes a big difference.
This is the Chase in San Francisco, right? This is
it is okay. Yes,
it's actually a legit basketball arena, right?
Because I think that's a problem in these games, and we've talked about that. My best bet, Bear, is going to be Duke over 81.5 points against Arizona. One thing, and I'll mention this right now, like they're at an actual basketball arena. They're at the Prudential Center. Like that helps, I think, when it comes to scoring points, is playing in an actual arena. But more importantly, Arizona's not good defensively. They're 197th in points allowed. Their efficiency is okay, according to Ken Palm. But guys, when Cooper Flagg has started and finished a game, these are the points Duke has scored: 93, 89, 82, 93, 100, 97, 110, 80. Back a month ago, they scored under 81 points against Virginia. So I just think Duke in this game just pours the points on. Plus, if Arizona, which they can score, Bear, scores along with Duke, especially early in the game, they'll keep pushing the tempo, keep shooting the ball. So I like Duke here over 81.5 points here. I can see them certainly not. Look, Oregon scored 83, and Oregon's not the offensive team that Duke is. So give me Duke here to score over 81.5 points.
Yeah, that I know we were all watching your alma mater against Arizona late there on Sunday night. That Arizona team, like we talked about in the Gambling group chat as well, they're so maddening. They're so talented.
Oh yeah,
but they are just so frustrating from a standpoint of so hanging on the rim. But hey, they we'll see if they can reverse the result of that. How great would that? That'd be great for those. I think for a lot of brackets and a lot of contrarians and such, and for Duke haters as well. Like if Arizona could reverse the result of that regular season game, and maybe Duke still goes over their point total.
Yeah, I think we'd have to drop the Tommy Lloyd tournament thing if they beat Duke. I think that would be probably the end of that discussion.
Yeah.
Which they've been better in the tournament of recently as well. I mean, they were down 19-4 to Oregon, Bear, and we're leading it at halftime by like 12.
I was getting ready to do the tongue-in-cheek text to the group chat at that point, like, congratulations, moving on to the Sweet Sixteen. But I was like, I didn't want to do that.
No, it's okay. Oregon, they weren't as good as Arizona. So yeah, we got a lot of fun games. We got 4 obviously Thursday, 4 Friday. For some reason, they decided to put them on super late at night for the East Coast viewers, Bear. But such is life. Looking forward to watching these games and wager on them with you.
Yeah, so certainly are. We're getting down to. So what we've got 15 games left in the college basketball season, right?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
16 teams left. One will be remaining, so we've got 15 games. But that'll wrap up our show for today. Thanks to Sammy and Will again, as always. Thanks to you. I'll thank myself. I'll pat myself on the back for whatever reason. I don't even know. But appreciate everybody again for rating, reviewing, subscribing, downloading on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, our Bear's YouTube channel as well. We will be back next week to kick around a little Final Four preview as well. For Sammy, for Will, for Geoff, I'm Bear. Unless you bet before you lose when you win.